What we're doing isn't about Kelly, it's not about me, you know, I don't need to be on a cover of a magazine, it's about helping people. Well, our big project is awareness. We actually came up with a slogan, get your head in the game. If you don't have the facts about brain tumors, we think you need to get your head in the game. And again, it was the genesis of the organization was to really educate people. This isn't on people's radar, and so we needed to get it on people's radar. So our major initiative is the Get Your Head in the Game movement, which includes a lot of things like we hold a walk, an annual walk. Here in Delaware, there was never a walk for brain tumors before, so we created one. And we had over 2,000 people show up, and it was an amazing event. And there were a lot of people who had been touched by this disease who wanted to get involved and never had that chance before. So the other part of the Get Your Head in the Game movement, in addition to educating people and making them aware of the facts and the symptoms and the diagnosis techniques, is giving people an opportunity to get involved in the cause. So that's our major initiative. We actually spent 3 years writing a business plan and launching the organization, raising money, and getting the right relationships in place to launch an awareness campaign. So actually in September of last year, we launched a pilot program right here in Newcastle County where we had billboards, we were on the sides of buses, we were in the train station, we were in newspapers, magazines, on the radio, and it was the Get Your Head in the Game campaign. We came up with a slogan, a campaign, I guess a concept called Did You Know? And it was 6 facts we think everybody needs to know about this disease. And the call to action was, if you don't have the facts, you need to get your head in the game and go to this website to get the information. I guess in my case, I was blessed during my wife's 2 years of illness. I was able to spend a lot of time away from work to be with her, unpaid time. And it was because I had a really great job and I could afford to do it. So many other families don't have that same blessing. So one of the things we wanted to do was create a program where people could apply to us for financial help. And it may be just paying their mortgage for 1 month because they want to spend time with their loved one for treatment. Or if they were the primary breadwinner and they have the brain tumor and they can't work anymore. So we can't afford to pay for treatments, but it's these ancillary costs and things that we want to try to help people with. So we have that program, and just connecting people. I think there's a lot of families out there who feel they're alone, and through our organization have connected with other families, and there's power in that, finding out that you're not alone and having shoulders to lean on. So the biggest role we play is really to share resources with them. So it's an overwhelming experience at that point to be diagnosed, and so in addition to our financial aid program, there's other organizations that offer services. Cancer Care Connection is a local organization that can provide services, and they provide coaching for people who've been diagnosed with any type of cancer. So we partner with organizations like that. The Wellness Community is another organization, it's a national organization. They have a local chapter here, but they offer really great grief counseling services. And just networking with other brain tumor people. They have a brain tumor clinic that we sponsor. So trying to make people aware of the other resources that are out there. And again, I think to my earlier point, just letting them know they're not alone. Oftentimes there's folks who think, well, has anybody ever else been in the same situation? And the chances are probably there have been. And especially in the case of children, parents who have children who are diagnosed, it's just an unbelievable experience for them, a horrible experience for them. And they want shoulders to lean on, and they want help making decisions. And if you've been there before, you can sort of maybe steer them a little bit in things to think about, questions to ask the doctors, getting second opinions, those types of things. So I think those are the things that we try to provide in addition to the financial assistance that we provide. And I think, and another thing that we provided, and a lot of the families have really resonates with them, is just having a positive outlet. To take them away from maybe the horrible thing that they're going through. So I know a lot of the families who came out for a walk, their children were receiving treatment at that time, but really felt like, boy, this is a really great distraction. And a lot of friends have contacted them and said, well, what can we do to help? Well, come join us in the walk. So there's one team, Team Kara, they had 480 people show up. Everybody wore a pink t-shirt because that was Kara's favorite color. And it was just an amazing thing. And if you talk to the family, they were like thanking me for having the walk to give them a positive thing, that when they didn't have to be in the hospital that day, and something to get excited about. I think there were a lot of people that were confused. There were a lot of people that were, quite frankly, against it. I think there were a lot of people who were like, Chris, you spent 2 years of your life battling brain tumors. You're in a really ugly place. you need to do something else. The last thing you need to do is spend more time in that place. It's a dark place. And I think a lot of people knew that I had a lot of skill sets that were better, you know, or that in their opinion were, you know, go back to the job you were doing. You were really successful, you know. And I think for me though, I was stripped down to nothing. I mean, honestly, in sort of I guess a biblical thing, I was brought down to my knees, and for me, I had to start over. And so starting over meant surrendering to God and basically saying, God, whatever you want to have happen, like that's what I want. And all the things that were familiar to me, I was just willing to give them up, whatever it was, and including, you know, the title and salary and the big job and all those things. And again, a lot of people were like, you know, those things should be comforting to you. You know, why are you giving them up? And I was like, you know, honestly, it just, to me, it just didn't make sense anymore. And I was trying to make sense of the world. So, you know, and it says in the Bible that if you do that, if you put God first in your life, everything else will fall into place. And so I prayed a lot, and this is what I was moved to do. And so I was like, I gotta take the leap of faith. I gotta follow that plan. And you know, it's not as drastic as, you know, when he asked Abraham to sacrifice Isaac, but it's very similar to that because it's a leap of faith. And you can't sort of put conditions on it and say, oh, well, only if it's this or only if it's that. It's like, whatever. And that's what I was led to do. And what's awesome is there were as many people who were sort of saying, I'm not sure this is the right thing. There were a lot of people, just as many people, if not more, who said, we support you. Chris, you know, if this is what you think is the best thing to do, we want to be there and we want to support it. And so, you know, thank God for that. And what was really neat was a lot of the people who sort of maybe were a little bit naysayers have sort of turned the corner now and have come back and said, you know what, I was sort of against this, but you've proven to me that this is what you're supposed to be doing, that this really is a God calling, and I want to support you now. And so I don't say that to be proud, but I did, just explaining the story, there were people who were for it, there were people who were against it, but I sort of said I got to be willing to do it no matter what. And but there were more people that were for it than were against it, and again, I wouldn't be where I am without their support. At our launch, you know, which was 1 year after the day Kelly died, we had 175 people show up. We raised about $40,000. As of right now, we have over 3,000 unique individuals who've donated to the organization. It's unbelievable. And local businesses, local foundations have supported us. And so everybody just really believes in what we're doing and the importance of what we're doing. And I've just been blown away by it. And I think the other thing that's just really neat about Delaware is, you know, sort of the 6 degrees of separation or whatever it is turns to 3. Somebody, you know, again, how did you find me? You know, that sort of thing is really neat in Delaware, and you can get to senators, and you can get to representatives, and you can get to the, you know, the politicians, and you can get to those folks because they're accessible, because they're at the grocery store with you. You know, if I was in Buffalo, I wouldn't be able to do those types of things. So I love Delaware. It's my home now, and we're you know, just really really grateful to the community for supporting us.